Dig my grave. Would you make it shallow?
All right, folks, we are back. It's the Alex Jones Show. I'm Jason Burmis sitting in. If you missed any of the show, just jam-packed Alex Jones, Lou Rockwell, tons of calls. The EMT being assaulted by a police officer is just unbelievable. Stories over at InfoWars and Prison Planet right now. But right now we're joined by Jim Newcomer of Midas Resources to tell us about what's happening with gold. It's on the rise again, and the great deals that you can get because they locked in lower prices just a week ago when they're passing the savings on to you. Jim, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing fine, Jason. It's nice to hear you.
Nice to hear you, too. So why don't you tell people the great deals that are over at Midas right now and why it's so important, really, to get into the gold and precious metals market, as this is the only thing that has really retained value over the last 6,000 years.
Yeah, the precious metals have been the standard since the beginning of time. They used to say that a $20 gold piece would exchange for a toga and sandals in the Roman days. That same 1 ounce of gold or 1 ounce piece, that same 1 ounce piece would buy a fine suit of clothes in 1929 and 1933 when they confiscated the metals. At that point, it was worth $20.65. The same is true today. At least it is here in Minneapolis, where a 1 ounce gold piece is going to run about $1,000 to $1,100, and we can buy a pretty fine suit of clothes up here. I don't know about the rest of the country. Maybe out there in Hollywood or New York City or something, you're not going to get that fine a suit, but it always retains its value, and that's the important thing to remember about precious metals. A lot of people will look at it as an investment. It truly isn't an investment, since it doesn't pay interest and you don't get any actual gains with it. What it is, it's financial insurance. There's no dividend, but it is financial insurance in that as the dollar devalues, the value of the metal will always increase proportionately. So if the dollar is cut in half, the value of the precious metal is going to double. And that's the thing that people have to keep in mind. That's the reason why for generations, for centuries really, people in the know have put reserve money that they're not going to be using in the next 5, 10 years, whatever, into precious metals because they know that they can't lose value no matter what happens to the economy. And quite frankly, even if it falls a little bit, as metals often do, it's still going to maintain the same purchasing power that it did when it was at the higher rate, because it is truly a commodity that will always exchange for X amount of goods and services, no matter what the value of that commodity is at. So we're talking today, we had, you had mentioned that Ted had purchased these or made commitments on these metals prior to him leaving for Europe. He should be back next week. He's over there, again, looking for additional coins and things that we can offer to your listeners on the Alex Jones special at great prices. But today we have the $20 Liberty. This is a pre-1907 coin. Now, a lot of people ask, well, where did it come from? They confiscated all the gold in 1933. Fact of the matter is, these are coins that were transferred from our Federal Reserve to foreign central banks to pay for foreign debt. When the gold was confiscated in this country in 1933, and our government offered $20.65 for a $20 gold piece, these foreign bankers took a look at the money they had sitting on their shelves over there and said, well, wait a minute, the world rate or the world market value is at $35. So they recognized the scam that our government was perpetrating, and they just held on to it. So they're all in real good shape. They were transferred from the Federal Reserve to central banks and literally sat on the shelf. In the early 1970s, when the ownership of gold was freed up, they started coming back in. But we do have the $20 Liberty Series. That's pre-1907. It's the most commonly traded coin in the private gold market, and that's at $16.27 today. The $10 Liberty, which is a half-ounce coin, is at $7.99. In addition, the ever-popular Lakota National Silver Rounds are offered at $20.50, or a roll price of $410. We also have the Franklin half dollar, offered at $8.80, or the roll price of $176. This is a great coin. Should it collapse completely, that would be used for barter. Everybody recognizes it. Everybody would know what the value of it was if that did occur. In addition, the two foreign coins, the British sovereign, that's at $278.90 today. That's the coin that was carried by the Allied flyers from World War II through the Iraqi war over there. That was the coin that they used, was in their survival kit. They used to buy themselves out of harm's way. And the 20 franc coin, which is either Belgian, Swiss, or French, at $225.90. That's a fifth-ounce coin. So I think that, folks out there, if you have any questions about the precious metals at all, call and talk to the brokers. We have 32 of them here Call 800-686-2237. Ask for the Alex special. These are all for the Alex Jones listeners. But remember, call 800-686-2237. And there's somebody going to be here to help you. Call this afternoon, call this evening. I'm sure there'll be people here until midnight. But call now. The demand for these metals is growing rapidly, and it's not going to be available forever.
And Jim, before you go, I just want to,
Sure.
again, reiterate the fact that, back in the day when I started listening to Alex Jones, when I was just becoming informed, just becoming a fan, they were pitching gold back in 2003 at $275 to, $330, $340 an ounce. And today, like I said, at the lowest, you're going to see it a little less than $800. When you see it sold on eBay, you're talking about $1,000, $1,100 for an ounce of gold. It is basically tripled in value in 6 years. What else out there has done so? And like you said, it's not really a tripling in value because the dollar has been devalued that much in these past 6 years. Yeah, and people don't realize that. Why don't you just explain that phenomenon?
Well, if you take a dollar and today it buys X amount of goods and services, and you go out and print more money and flood it into the market like the Treasury has done, now you have twice as much money competing for that commodity, no matter what the commodity is. In the case of gold, it means that by doubling the currency out in circulation, you have twice as much currency. The value of those commodities will double in price in comparison to the currency. So that's pretty much what's happening today. There's been so much currency introduced into the system now. My Lord, it's more than actually was printed since the country was founded. And we're getting ourselves into a situation that's it's just untenable. The dollar has to collapse. You had talked earlier, I think, about the Chinese, the situation that they're in. They have an awful lot of our debt, a ton of it. And they could collapse our economy at any minute if they wanted to. We're also their largest market, so I think they're a little hesitant to do it. But they are getting away from the dollar. The Europeans are getting away from the dollar. Everybody is. The European banks, central banks, are holding 60% of their assets, I believe, in hard metals, in gold. So these people are concerned, and these are people in the know.
All right. Well, other than that, why don't you talk a little bit about silver and the Lakota rounds that you have? I mean, the Lakota tribe printing up their own currency, basically. They have these, $50 ounce rounds of silver. I know you guys have that. What are some of the silver deals that you have over at Midas right now?
Okay, well, we have all types of silver available, from junk silver all the way up to Lakota rounds, regular rounds. We had included the Lakota rounds on this at $410 a roll. The Lakotas, because they're a sovereign nation, can print their own currency, so they came out with these Lakota rounds. It's a beautiful coin. It's marked at $50 on the back of the coin. We're selling them at what's the price? $20.50 a piece. You can't find them. If you go into eBay or anywhere else, you're not going to find them at that price. And this is a coin that Ted had made a commitment to previously. But silver has done extremely well. Right now, the gold to silver ratio is about 63. That's to say that it would take 63 ounces of silver to buy an ounce of gold. Normally, that ratio is below 20 in normal times. It hasn't been for a long time, so silver is set to really explode here in the future. Even if we had a 30-to-1 ratio, silver would be selling at $30 to $35. So silver is a great way to get into the precious metals initially and to continue from there.
All right, why don't you give out the number for people one more time? It's MidasResources.com, and the number is?
800-686-2237. And call anytime. If you're going to home talk to your husband or wife, you call us here this evening. Somebody will be here, and the number again is 800-686-2237.
All right, thank you so much, Jim. I really appreciate it.
We're
going to jump. You got it. We're going to jump right back into your calls in a moment, but I'm reading this Google story, and, hidden in the article is the point that I really wanted to make. I talked about Google Maps and Google Earth. Well, how about RFIDs? Well, that's what one of these third-party softwares, Wellstar, which operates 5 nonprofit hospitals in the Atlanta area. Zanin and his colleagues are developing RFID location-based services that will use Google Maps API as well as integrated patient census API that provides hospital administrators operating data straight to location-targeted search result pages. See, this is getting around giving you a Verichip. Earlier I discussed the story where it was edible RFID chips that can track and trace you. And this is mainline news. Oh, that doesn't exist, Jason. There's no edible RFID chips. That's just crazy. You're just saying that. You just like to make stuff up. Well, here it is right here.